Welcome to the deep dive. We got a really interesting source sent in this time, an episode from a podcast called Mastering English, Tips and Strategies for Confident Learning.
Mm-hmm. Hosted by Alex and Sophie, I believe.
That's right. And our mission today is pretty straightforward. We're going to dig into their conversation and pull out the most practical, actionable strategies they shared for learning English.
So kind of a shortcut for our listeners, whether they're, just starting out or maybe trying to get over that intermediate hump towards fluency.
Exactly. We want to show what actually works based on what Alex and Sophie discussed, and maybe make that whole learning process feel a bit more, enjoyable and less intimidating.
Okay, sounds good. So where do they kick things off?
Well, interestingly, they dive straight into the mindset piece. Motivation, dealing with how you feel about learning.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That internal stuff can really make or break your progress, can't it?
Totally. And Sophie immediately hits on something huge. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Seriously, don't sweat it.
Okay. What's her reasoning there?
Her point is basically, language is for communication, right? Not about achieving absolute perfection on day one. Every mistake is just, proof you're trying, proof you're engaging.
I like that. It reframes mistakes as evidence of effort, not failure.
Exactly. And Alex jumps in agreeing, making this great point that, hey, native speakers, they made tons of mistakes learning their first language as kids.
Right. We all did. It just normalizes the whole, sometimes awkward process. Takes the pressure off.
Then they transition to motivation. Sophie really emphasizes figuring out your personal why.
Your core reason for learning.
Yeah. Is it for travel? For your job? Maybe just enjoying movies without subtitles or connecting with people online. Knowing why you're doing it gives you focus.
That's so true. It's like your anchor when things get tough or, when you feel like you're not progressing. That why pulls you back.
Definitely. And Alex adds a really practical layer to this. Setting realistic goals.
The classic, don't bite off more than you can chew advice.
Pretty much. But his example is great. Maybe just aim for 5 new words a day. But the key part, use them in sentences. Don't just memorize lists.
Right, make it active. Contextualize it immediately.
And he compares it to a marathon, not a sprint, which is such a good mental image. It's a long game, requires patience.
Okay, so mindset and motivation are foundational. What about the actual skills? Where do they go next?
Listening. Sophie makes the case that listening skills are absolutely fundamental. You can't really communicate effectively if you can't understand what's being said, right?
Stands to reason. So what's her main tip for improving listening?
Daily exposure. Just get those English sounds into your ears every day, even if you don't understand everything at first.
Just let it wash over you, kind of.
Sort of, yeah. She suggests starting with maybe slower podcasts or videos with subtitles, get comfortable. Then gradually try turning the subtitles off.
Okay, that sounds like a manageable progression. Baby steps.
And then Alex introduces a specific technique called shadowing.
Shadowing. What's involved there?
It's where you listen to a short bit of audio, like a sentence or two, and you immediately repeat it out loud, trying to mimic the pronunciation, the rhythm, the intonation.
So it's active listening combined with speaking practice.
Exactly. You're working on your listening comprehension and your pronunciation at the same time. Pretty efficient.
Yeah, I could see how that would tune your ear and your mouth simultaneously.
Yeah.
Any other listening tips?
Oh, yeah. Sophie adds the more general advice, watch English TV shows, movies, YouTube channels, whatever you find interesting.
Keep it engaging.
Right. She even suggests cartoons for beginners because the language is often simpler and clearer.
That's a good shout, actually. Okay, so listening's covered. What about the flip side, speaking? That's often the big hurdle for people.
Definitely. And Sophie has what she calls her golden rule for speaking.
Which is?
Speak every single day.
Wow, okay, no excuses.
Pretty much. Even if it's just talking to yourself, narrating what you're doing, okay, now I'm making coffee. She insists that consistent practice is the only way to improve. Forget waiting until you feel perfect.
That really tackles the perfectionism issue head on, doesn't it? Just do it. Build the confidence through action.
And Alex offers a really useful strategy for self-assessment here.
Oh.
Record yourself speaking, maybe just for a minute or two each day. Then listen back.
Ooh, that sounds potentially painful, but probably very effective.
Right. It takes guts, but it lets you hear your own mistakes, track your progress, notice things you'd otherwise miss.
Yeah, you'd get objective feedback, essentially. And what about finding people to practice with?
Sophie suggests the obvious, like friends or partners who are also learning, but also language exchange apps. Lots of platforms out there now to connect with native speakers or other learners.
Good point. Removes the barrier of not having anyone around you to practice with.
And Alex has one more simple, but I think quite clever technique. Just narrate your day.
Like internally or out loud.
Either. Whatever you're doing, describe it in English. I'm walking down the street, I see a dog, the bus is late. It trains your brain to start thinking in English more automatically.
Ah, that leads nicely into the next potential topic. Thinking in English itself. Or maybe vocabulary first.
They went to vocabulary next.
Yeah.
Building that word bank. Alex, he's keen on flashcards.
The old school method.
Yeah, but also the modern version spaced repetition apps, like
Yeah.
Anki or Quizlet.
Ah, the ones that show you the word again just before you forget it.
Exactly. Supposedly really effective for locking things into long-term memory.
Makes sense. What about Sophie's take on vocab?
She emphasizes learning words in context, not just memorizing a word and its definition in isolation.
So learning it within a sentence.
Precisely. Like, instead of just apple, learn I ate an apple for breakfast. You see how it's used, what words go with it. Much richer understanding.
Yeah, that definitely sticks better, I find. You get the usage pattern.
Alex also suggests learning vocabulary thematically, grouping related words together. So if you're learning cooking words, learn chop, stir, bake, ingredients, recipe all around the same time. Apparently, it helps build stronger connections in your brain.
Like creating little mental networks. Okay.
And Sophie adds one more crucial layer, learning phrases and collocations.
Collocations, words that naturally go together, right?
Like make a decision, not do a decision. Or heavy rain, not strong rain. Learning these common pairings is key to sounding more natural.
Absolutely vital. Otherwise, even with good grammar, something can sound.
Ah.
Okay, vocab covered. Did they tackle the dreaded G word? Grammar.
They did. And they try to make it less scary. Sophie's main advice is learn grammar through using it, not just by memorizing rules from a textbook.
Practice over theory.
Kind of. She argues that applying grammar in real situations is what really makes it sink in. The rules make more sense when you see them in action.
Okay, so how do you do that?
Alex gives a simple example. Want to practice past tense? Don't just study verb tables. Talk about what you did yesterday.
Ah, so you force yourself to use it. I watched a movie, I visited my friend, I cooked dinner.
Exactly. You're learning by doing, embedding the grammar through actual communication.
I like that. Much more dynamic.
Sophie also suggests learning by observation. Just pay attention to how native speakers use grammar.
Soaking it up passively.
Yeah, over time, you start to absorb the patterns, get an intuitive feel for what sounds right, often without consciously analyzing the rules.
That makes sense. You develop an ear for it.
But Alex also acknowledges that some people like structure. So he recommends using online resources, videos, quizzes, worksheets, but focusing on just one grammar topic at a time.
Avoid overwhelm. Don't try to learn all the tenses at once.
Right. Break it down.
Okay, grammar demystified.
Mm-hmm.
Slightly. What about more advanced stuff? Did they talk about fluency?
They did, and specifically about getting to the stage of thinking in English, they framed this as a real game changer.
Why is it such a big deal?
Because it cuts out that intermediate step of translating in your head from your native language into English.
Ah, the mental middleman.
Exactly. When you think directly in English, your speech becomes much smoother, faster, fewer pauses, while you search for words or translations.
Okay, that's the goal. How do you start doing that? Seems hard.
Alex suggests starting really simply. Just describe your surroundings in basic English sentences.
Like we mentioned with narrating your day.
Yeah, similar idea. I see a red car, a man is walking his dog, the sun is shining. Just forcing your brain to operate in English for those simple observations.
Get the wheels turning in English mode.
And Sophie builds on this with a technique she calls mental conversations.
Talking to yourself in your head, basically.
Pretty much. Imagine simple dialogues. Ask yourself questions in English. Answer them in English. Practice those internal exchanges. It helps build that English operating system.
Rehearsing internally. Okay, I can see that.
Then, underpinning all of this, Sophie really hammers home the importance of consistency.
We talked about daily practice for speaking, but this is broader.
Yeah, for everything. She argues strongly that short, regular sessions, like even just 20 minutes a day, are way more effective than one massive, infrequent study binge.
Keep the momentum going, little and often.
Exactly. It keeps the language fresh, reinforces learning, builds habits. Alex suggests integrating it into your routine.
How so?
Listen to English while you're walking or commuting. Try thinking or speaking in English while you're doing chores like cooking. Read a bit before bed. Fit it into your life.
Make it part of the furniture, not an extra task.
Right. And Sophie recommends tracking your progress. Maybe keep a learning journal. Note down what you learned, what you practiced.
Why is tracking helpful?
It shows you how far you've come. And she says, celebrate the small wins. Acknowledging progress keeps you motivated.
Good point. Sometimes you feel stuck, but looking back shows you've actually learned a lot.
And Alex adds a crucial reminder here. Don't compare yourself to others. Focus on your journey, your improvement.
Yeah, comparison is the thief of joy, as they say, especially in language learning where everyone's path is different.
So true. Okay, so consistency is key. But how do you maintain that consistency, especially when motivation dips?
Ah, the fun factor. Do they talk about making it enjoyable?
Absolutely. Alex listed a bunch of ideas. Watch your favorite shows, but in English this time. Play video games in English.
Immerse yourself in things you already like.
Yeah, sing along to English songs, great for pronunciation and rhythm. Follow English-speaking influencers or creators online whose content you genuinely enjoy.
Make it feel less like study, more like leisure.
Exactly. Sophie even shared a personal anecdote about how karaoke helped her English.
Karaoke? Really?
Yeah, said it was a super fun way to practice pronunciation, get the rhythm of the language, and build confidence performing, even if just for fun.
That's brilliant, combining a hobby with learning.
They also mentioned reading for pleasure. Start simple children's books, graded readers, and gradually work your way up as you get more comfortable.
Reading is so powerful for vocabulary and just absorbing sentence structures.
Totally. And Sophie had a practical tip to tie into these fun activities. Keep a notebook handy.
To jot things down.
Yeah. When you hear a cool expression in a show or see a new word while reading, write it down. Review it later. Actively capture that language you encounter.
Nice. Okay, so make it fun, be consistent. But what about when it just feels hard, when you get frustrated?
They definitely address that. It's inevitable, right? Sophie's advice is, when you feel that frustration creeping in, go back to your why.
Reconnect with your original motivation.
Exactly. Remind yourself why you started this journey. And she also frames frustration as a sign of growth. You're pushing your boundaries.
That's a constructive way to look at it. Not, I'm failing, but I'm stretching.
Alex echoes this, comparing learning plateaus, those times you feel stuck, to plateaus in physical training. They're normal. You just have to push through or adjust your approach.
Part of the process, not a reason to quit.
Right. And Sophie adds a self-care element. It's okay to take a short break if you're feeling totally burnt out. Step away for a day or two. But, and this is key, don't give up entirely. Come back to it.
Recharge, but don't abandon ship.
Got it. So, if we boil down Alex and Sophie's core message, it seems to be, embrace mistakes. They're part of learning. Practice every single day, even just a little.
Develop all your skills. Listening, speaking, reading, writing. Don't neglect any of them. And try to start thinking in English.
Yep. And crucially, make it fun. Find ways to enjoy the process. And above all, be consistent and patient with yourself.
Sounds like a solid blueprint. Sophie had a really nice closing thought, too, didn't she? Something about perfection.
Yeah, she emphasized that you don't need perfect English to communicate powerfully, to connect with people, to feel confident. Good enough is often, well, good enough for what you need.
That's really encouraging. Takes the pressure off aiming for some unattainable ideal.
It does. And Alex finished with some motivating words, basically saying, persevere, believe you can reach fluency, but understand it's a journey. It takes time. It takes effort.
And they reminded listeners their podcast is there for ongoing support, which is nice.
Definitely. So wrapping up our deep dive into Alex and Sophie's advice, there are clearly loads of strategies people can try.
A real toolkit.
Absolutely. Which leads to the final thought for everyone listening.
Okay.
Considering all these different ideas we've pulled out today, what's one small, concrete step you will commit to taking, maybe even starting right now, to keep moving forward on your own English language adventure?